I stare at the pink slip in my hands, the words, "Termination effective immediately," swimming before my eyes like cruel little fish. 10 years of dedication to the Riverside Public Library, reduced to a single sheet of paper and a box of personal belongings. "I'm sorry, Sarah," Director Thompson says, not meeting my eyes. His hands fidget with a gold pen, the same one I'd given him last Christmas. "It's out of my hands. The board's decision is final." The lie in his voice is as clear as the afternoon sun streaming through his office window. I've known this man for a decade, watched him stammer through budget meetings and celebration speeches. He's never been good at deception. "Who made the call?" I ask, my voice steadier than I expect. "Really made it?" He clicks the pen repeatedly, a nervous tick I've seen 1,000 times. "I can't discuss that. Legal reasons, you understand." I don't understand, not at all. But I gather what's left of my dignity and stand up, the chair scraping against the floor with a sound like fingernails on a chalkboard. "Of course, legal reasons." The words taste like vinegar on my tongue. My box sits on my desk, hastily packed by someone else's hands. My carefully curated reading recommendations for the children's section are already gone, replaced by generic bestseller lists. They didn't waste any time erasing me. Emily catches me at the front desk, her face flushed with anger. "This is bullshit, Sarah. Complete bullshit. They can't just..." "They can," I cut her off, shifting the box in my arms. "They did. But your programs, the literacy initiative, someone else will handle it." The words come out sharper than intended, making Emily flinch. "Sorry, I need to process this." The walk to my car feels like a walk of shame, even though I've done nothing wrong. My mind races through possible reasons. Budget cuts, personal vendetta, the recent divorce making me appear unstable. None of it makes sense. My phone buzzes as I reach the parking lot. Unknown number. "Hello? Miss Mitchell?" A man's voice, smooth as aged whiskey. "I couldn't help but notice your situation at the library. Perhaps we could discuss some opportunities over coffee?" I should hang up. Strange men calling at precisely the wrong moment screams, "Trap." But something in his voice holds me there, like a hook caught in tender flesh. Who is this? Ryan Harper. The name means nothing to me, but the confidence in his tone suggests it should. "I have a proposition that might interest you, given your current circumstances." "My current circumstances happened 10 minutes ago." He chuckles, the sound rich and warm. "News travels fast in certain circles. The daily grind, 30 minutes. I'll be the one with the Wall Street Journal and an espresso." I should say no. Should go home, curl up with a bottle of wine, and lick my wounds. But anger and curiosity make a dangerous cocktail. 45 minutes, I counter. I need to drop some things at home. "Perfect. And Miss Mitchell? I'm truly sorry about the library. It's not right what they did to you." The line goes dead before I can respond. I sit in my car, staring at the box of memories in my passenger seat, and feel something shift inside me. The familiar comfort of books and routine crumbles away, revealing something harder underneath, something that wants answers. My phone buzzes again. Emily, probably checking on me. I ignore it. Whatever game this Ryan Harper is playing, whatever circles he moves in that knew about my firing before it happened, I'm going to find out. Because one thing's become crystal clear. This wasn't a simple termination. This was a calculated move in someone else's game, and I'm tired of being a pawn. The daily grind hums with afternoon activity as I spot Ryan Harper exactly where he said he'd be. His tailored suit stands out among the casual crowd like a shark in a goldfish pond. He rises when I approach, and I notice his smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. "Miss Mitchell, thank you for coming." He gestures to the chair across from him. A steaming cup already waits for me. My usual order, somehow. "How did you know what I drink?" "Lucky guess." He slides the cup closer. "Most librarians I know prefer their coffee like their books, complex and thoughtfully prepared." I leave the cup untouched. "Most librarians you know? And how many would that be?" His laugh is practiced, precise. Point taken. I did my homework before reaching out. Your reputation at Riverside was impressive. The children's literacy program in particular caught my attention. You still haven't explained why I'm here. Direct. I like that. He leans forward, lowering his voice. What if I told you I could offer you something better than your position at the library? Something that would make today's unpleasantness seem like a blessing in disguise? My phone buzzes again, Emily's third attempt to reach me. I silence it without looking away from Ryan's face. I'd say that timing is everything, and yours is suspiciously perfect. Sometimes opportunity knocks at unexpected moments. He pulls out a business card, sliding it across the table. The paper feels expensive between my fingers. My family's foundation is launching a new educational initiative. We need someone with your expertise to oversee it. The Harper Foundation, I read aloud. The logo looks familiar. I've seen it on donor plaques around town. Why me? Because you understand the importance of stories, of shaping narratives. Something shifts in his expression, almost imperceptible. The position comes with significant resources at your disposal, complete creative control. And what's the catch? Dinner. He says it simply, like he's suggesting a handshake. With my parents this Saturday. They'll want to meet the person who'll be handling such a delicate project. My coffee sits untouched, growing cold. You orchestrated my firing, didn't you? Instead of denying it, he studies me with newfound interest. Would it matter if I did? The outcome remains the same. You need a job, and I'm offering you an opportunity that could change your life. That's not a no. No, it's not. He reaches across the table, his fingers brushing mine as he retrieves his business card. 7 o'clock Saturday. The address is on the back. Wear something elegant. My mother notices these things. I should walk away. Every instinct screams that I'm being manipulated, moved like a piece on a chessboard. But curiosity burns stronger than caution. Why go to all this trouble? You could have just approached me at the library. Some doors need to close before others can open. He stands, adjusting his cuffs with practiced precision. Besides, I find that people are most interesting when they're knocked off balance, shows their true character. As he turns to leave, I call after him. And what if I don't show up? He pauses, that same calculated smile playing at his lips. Then you'll never know why the board was so eager to let you go, will you? The cafe feels colder after he leaves. I finally take a sip of the coffee he ordered. Perfect temperature, exactly how I like it. My phone buzzes again, this time with a text from Emily. Where are you? We need to talk about what happened. I stare at the message, then at the business card still on the table. Ryan's words echo in my head. Some doors need to close before others can open. He's right about one thing. I want answers. But as I pick up the card and run my thumb across the embossed lettering, I can't shake the feeling that I'm about to walk through a door that won't easily close behind me. Saturday's dinner invitation sits like a weight in my pocket, a ticket to either salvation or damnation. Only one way to find out which. I text Emily back. Rain check. Something came up. Then I add the Harper Foundation's address to my calendar, already wondering what elegant means to people who can orchestrate someone's firing with a snap of their fingers. Game on, Ryan Harper. Game on. The Harper Mansion looms before me like something out of a Gothic novel, all sharp angles and dark windows. Victoria Harper's smile is equally sharp as she opens the door, her pearl necklace catching the evening light. Sarah, darling, right on time. Her perfume wraps around me like expensive chains. Ryan speaks so highly of you. The foyer could swallow my entire apartment. Family portraits line the walls, generations of Harpers staring down with identical calculated smiles. Ryan appears at my elbow, his hand settling at the small of my back. Mother, you're hovering. Nonsense. I'm being welcoming. Victoria's eyes flick over my dress, the most expensive thing I own, and clearly not expensive enough. Daniel's in the study. Why don't you show Sarah around while I check on dinner? Ryan guides me through rooms that feel more like museum exhibits than living spaces. In the study, Daniel Harper barely looks up from his laptop. Welcome to the family business, he says, as if my presence is already a foregone conclusion. The word family catches in my throat like a fishhook. During dinner, Victoria orchestrates the conversation like a conductor, each topic carefully selected. Ryan tells us you're quite the expert on community engagement, she says, cutting into her perfectly cooked salmon. Such a shame about the library. Politics can be so messy. Politics? I set down my fork. I was told it was a budget issue. Oh, everything's politics these days. Victoria waves her hand dismissively. The right word in the right ear, and suddenly budgets appear or disappear. Fascinating process, really. Ryan tenses beside me. I feel the trap closing, but can't see its shape yet. Speaking of processes, Daniel interjects. Have you considered our offer, Sarah, the foundation position? I'm still evaluating my options. Victoria's smile tightens. Options, dear, in this economy? Besides, we're offering you something quite special. The Foundation's new literacy initiative could use someone with your particular background. My background as a recently fired librarian? Your background as someone who understands loss, Victoria says softly, and the importance of securing one's future. The room suddenly feels airless. Ryan's hand finds mine under the table, but I can't tell if it's meant to comfort or restrain. Mother, Ryan starts, but Victoria cuts him off. I'm simply being honest, dear. Sarah's clearly intelligent. She must understand what we're offering. And what exactly is that? I ask, though I already know the answer won't be the truth. Security, influence, family. Victoria sets down her wine glass with precise movements. Things I imagine you've been missing since your divorce. Speaking of which, how is Thomas enjoying his new position at Sterling and Myers? The law firm partnership suits him, I hear. The pieces click into place with nauseating clarity. My ex-husband's sudden career jump, the library board's unexpected decision, the Harper Foundation's timely offer. You've been watching me, I say. Planning this. Planning implies calculation, Victoria corrects. We prefer to think of it as creating opportunities. For whom? For all of us. Daniel finally looks up from his plate. The Foundation needs fresh blood, new perspectives, and you need a safety net. What I need, I push back from the table, is air. Ryan follows me onto the terrace, closing the French doors behind us. Sarah, wait. It's not what you think. Really? Because I think your family orchestrated my firing, manipulated my ex-husband's career, and is now trying to buy me with some vague promise of security. They're trying to help. Help who, Ryan? Them? You? Because it sure as hell isn't me. He runs a hand through his hair, frustration breaking through his polished veneer. You don't understand how they operate. Everything's a transaction to them, even love. Is that what this is? Love? The question hangs between us like smoke. Inside, I can see Victoria watching through the window, her expression unreadable. Come back inside, Ryan pleads. Let me explain. But I'm already moving toward the driveway, my heels clicking against the stone path like tiny hammers nailing shut a coffin. Behind me, I hear Victoria's voice drift through the open window. Let her go, darling. She'll be back. They always come back when they run out of options. I pause at my car, looking back at the mansion. Ryan stands frozen on the terrace, caught between his mother's shadow and the fading light. For a moment, I almost pity him. Almost. The letter arrives on expensive cream paper, hand-delivered to my apartment. Inside, a single sheet contains life-changing news. My great-aunt Eleanor, whom I'd met exactly twice, has left me her entire estate. The inheritance that would solve all my problems. Except for one detail. Victoria Harper is the executor. I'm still staring at the letter when Emily bursts through my door. You need to see this. She thrusts her tablet at me, displaying a news article about the Harper Foundation's latest acquisition, the Riverside Public Library building. They're converting it into a private research facility, Emily says, watching my face. Guess who's leading the project? Thomas. My ex-husband's name tastes like copper in my mouth. They're all connected, aren't they? There's more. Emily swipes to another article. Ryan's been appointed to the city council. The vote was unanimous. A knock at the door makes us both jump. Ryan stands there looking less polished than usual. We need to talk. Emily moves between us. She's not interested. It's about Eleanor Mitchell's estate. His eyes meet mine. Mother's making her move tomorrow. I let him in, despite Emily's warning glare. He paces my small living room like a caged animal. The foundation position, the library, Thomas. It was all groundwork, he says. They needed control of your assets before... He stops abruptly. Before what? Before the merger. He runs a hand through his disheveled hair. Harper Industries is bleeding money. They need Eleanor's estate to shore up the losses. Mother's planning to declare you mentally unfit to manage the inheritance. Emily curses under her breath. I feel oddly calm, like I'm watching this happen to someone else. She can't do that, Emily protests. Sarah's perfectly competent. She has Thomas's testimony about Sarah's emotional instability during the divorce. The library board's statement about her erratic behavior. It's all fabricated, but it's enough, I finish. That's why she wanted me at the foundation, to document my decisions, build a case. Ryan nods, not meeting my eyes. I tried to stop it, but you're a coward. The words come out flat, factual. Sarah, why tell me now? He finally looks at me. Because I found out what happened to Eleanor Mitchell. She didn't die of natural causes. The room goes silent. Emily's hand finds mine, squeezing hard. Mother arranged for her medication to be adjusted. She'd been planning this for months, waiting for the right moment. When you lost your job, became vulnerable. He trails off. Get out. My voice doesn't shake, neither do my hands. Sarah, please, I'm trying to help. Like you helped Eleanor? The calm starts cracking. Get out. He leaves a file on my coffee table before going. Everything you need to know is in here. But be careful. Mother's having you watched. After he's gone, Emily starts making calls to lawyer friends. I open the file with trembling fingers. Inside, I find documentation of Victoria's schemes, emails, financial records, medical reports, a paper trail of destruction. My phone buzzes with a text from Victoria. Dinner tomorrow? We should discuss Eleanor's estate. Your future depends on it. Emily looks up from her phone. Marcus Flynn called back. He's willing to meet tonight. Who's Marcus Flynn? Former Harper Industries executive, left under mysterious circumstances last year, says he has information we need. I stare at Victoria's text, thinking about Eleanor, about the library, about all the lives the Harpers have casually destroyed. Tell him I'll be there. Sarah, Emily hesitates. Are you sure about this? These people are dangerous. I pick up Eleanor's letter, running my fingers over the expensive paper. They think I'm just another pawn, someone to manipulate and discard. I meet Emily's worried gaze. But they forgot something important. What's that? In chess, a pawn that reaches the other side of the board becomes a queen. I type a response to Victoria. Looking forward to it. The pieces are set. Tomorrow, Victoria expects to meet a broken woman ready to surrender her inheritance. Instead, she'll meet someone else entirely, someone who knows how to play the game. Marcus Flynn's office sits above a closed pawn shop, the kind of place the Harpers wouldn't deign to notice. Perfect for plotting their downfall. Victoria's pattern is consistent, Marcus says, spreading photographs across his desk. She finds vulnerable people with valuable assets, integrates them into the family's orbit, then destroys them systematically. The photos show familiar faces, all people who'd crossed paths with the Harpers, all broken in different ways. My phone buzzes with a text from Lily. Why is Victoria Harper asking me about your mental health? My hands clench. They're targeting my sister. Of course they are. Marcus's voice carries the weight of experience. Victoria likes to create pressure points. Your sister, your job, your reputation. She'll use everything. You sound like you know her well. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. I was chief financial officer at Harper Industries for 15 years, until I discovered irregularities in their charitable foundation's accounts. Next thing I knew, my wife was leaving me over fabricated evidence of an affair, and my teenage daughter wouldn't speak to me. Emily shifts in her chair. Why help Sarah? Why now? Because Victoria made a mistake with Eleanor Mitchell's estate. She got sloppy, left traces. He pulls out another file, including this. The document shows a series of transfers from Harper Industries to offshore accounts, each coinciding with a death or disappearance. Eleanor's name is the last on the list. My phone buzzes again. Ryan. Mother's meeting with the probate judge tomorrow. Whatever you're planning, do it fast. They're moving faster than we thought, I say. Marcus nods. Victoria's desperate. Harper Industries is hemorrhaging money. Without Eleanor's estate, they'll lose everything, Emily finishes. Not just money. Marcus's expression darkens. Power. Control. Victoria's entire identity is built on being untouchable. Take that away. My phone rings. Lily again. This time I answer. Sarah? Her voice trembles. Victoria's here at my apartment. She says she's worried about you, that you're having some kind of breakdown. She brought papers for me to sign. Don't sign anything. My voice sounds strange in my ears. I'm coming over. There's someone else here too. Thomas? Your ex? They're saying... The line goes dead. Emily's already grabbing her keys, but Marcus stops us. Wait, this is exactly what Victoria wants, to force you into making a mistake. That's my sister. And if you rush in without a plan, you'll lose everything, including any chance of helping Lily. He's right, but every second feels like betrayal. I force myself to think like Victoria, calculate moves and counter moves. The probate hearing, I say slowly. What if we let Victoria win? Emily stares at me. Have you lost your mind? No. Marcus leans forward. She's thinking like a chess player. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a piece to win the game. My phone buzzes one final time. Victoria. Lovely chat with Lily. She's so concerned about you, dear. Shall we discuss terms? I show them the message. Victoria thinks she has all the pieces in place, so let's let her think she's won. While we set up the real endgame, Marcus agrees. But Sarah, you need to understand, once we start this, there's no going back. Victoria won't just try to destroy you. She'll annihilate everything you care about. I think about Eleanor, about Lily, about all the lives Victoria has casually ruined, about the look in Ryan's eyes when he finally chose to warn me. Too little, too late. Good, I say, and my voice sounds like someone else's, someone harder. Because I'm going to do the same to her. Emily touches my arm. Sarah, this isn't about revenge anymore. I pick up one of Marcus's photographs, a family much like mine, now broken beyond repair. This is about justice, about making sure Victoria Harper never hurts another family again. Marcus gathers the files with practiced efficiency. Then let's begin. But remember, from this moment on, trust no one. Not Ryan, not the police, not even me. Why not you? His smile turns bitter. Because everyone has something to lose, and Victoria's very good at finding out what that is. I send Victoria a response. Terms, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Then I turn off my phone and start learning how to destroy the woman who thought she could own me. Tomorrow, Victoria Harper will think she's won everything, and that's exactly when she'll start losing it all. The probate hearing feels like a carefully orchestrated play, with Victoria Harper as both director and star. She sits across from me in the judge's chambers, perfectly composed in Chanel, while I deliberately let my hands shake as I hold the papers. Miss Mitchell appears unable to manage her affairs, Victoria says softly, concern dripping from every syllable. The recent erratic behavior, the job loss, the emotional instability. My lawyer, carefully chosen by Marcus for this performance, makes a weak protest. Judge Harrison barely glances up from the documentation. And you're willing to assume responsibility for the estate's management, Mrs. Harper? It's the least we can do for poor Eleanor's niece. I sign the papers with trembling fingers, playing my part. Victoria's smile widens fractionally, a predator's satisfaction at a clean kill. But as we leave the chambers, Emily rushes in, her face ashen. Sarah, it's Lily. She's in the hospital. The performance drops away like shattered glass. What? Apparent overdose, Emily says, watching Victoria from the corner of her eye. They found prescription medications. Victoria touches my arm, her grip steel beneath silk. My dear, this only proves we made the right decision. You need to focus on your sister now, not worry about managing an estate. I pull away, already running. Behind me, I hear Victoria's measured steps following at a careful distance, close enough to show concern, far enough to deny involvement. At the hospital, Thomas stands outside Lily's room, looking uncomfortable in his expensive suit. My ex-husband, now Victoria's puppet, blocking my path. You can't go in, he says. They're reviewing her psychiatric hold. Psychiatric hold? Given her state when they found her and the notes. What notes? He pulls out his phone, shows me texts supposedly from Lily about my unstable behavior, my paranoid accusations against the Harpers, my declining mental state, all perfectly crafted to support Victoria's narrative. You helped them do this, I realize. To my sister. Sarah, you need help. We're all worried. Ryan appears from around the corner, his face tight. Father's calling an emergency board meeting. They're announcing the merger tomorrow. Merger? The pieces click together with sickening clarity. You're selling Harper Industries. Restructuring, Ryan corrects, not meeting my eyes. Once Mother has control of Eleanor's estate, the company's debt disappears, I finish. And Lily? Was putting my sister in the hospital part of the restructuring plan? Victoria appears behind me, her voice carrying just far enough for nearby nurses to hear. Dear, you're getting agitated again. Perhaps you should let the doctors examine you while you're here? I feel the trap closing. The concerned family members, the documented instability, the convenient timing. One wrong move and I'll join Lily under psychiatric observation. My phone buzzes. Marcus, don't react. Everything's proceeding as planned. But the plan didn't account for Lily, for Victoria crossing this line. Ryan touches my arm. Sarah, please, just let us help. I jerk away, my voice rising deliberately. Help? Like you helped Eleanor? Victoria's mask slips for just a moment. Fear flickers behind her eyes. Security, Thomas calls right on cue. We need assistance here. As security approaches, I let them see exactly what Victoria wants them to see. An unstable woman having a breakdown. I struggle just enough to seem erratic but not dangerous. Take care of my sister, I tell Emily as they lead me away. Don't let them near her. Victoria watches from the doorway, victory written in every line of her perfect posture. She thinks she's won everything, the estate, the company, my freedom, my sister. She doesn't see Marcus in the parking lot, recording everything. Doesn't notice Emily slipping a nurse a thumb drive. Doesn't realize that sometimes, to win the game, you have to sacrifice your queen. In the security office, waiting for the psychiatric evaluation that Victoria undoubtedly arranged, I close my eyes and think of Eleanor, of Lily, of all the pieces Victoria moved so carefully into place. My phone buzzes one last time. Marcus. Files delivered. Tomorrow's board meeting will be interesting. I delete the message just as the doctor arrives, his clipboard already full of Victoria's carefully crafted concerns. Time to play my final role, the pawn who didn't realize she was about to become a queen. Tomorrow, Victoria Harper will learn that the game isn't over until the last piece falls, and I intend to make sure that piece is her. The Harper Industries boardroom buzzes with tension as Victoria takes her place at the head of the table. I watch through the security feed from Marcus's laptop, surrounded by federal agents in an unmarked van outside. The merger documentation is complete, Victoria announces to the board. With the Mitchell estate securing our position, the boardroom door swings open. Ryan walks in, followed by Emily and a stone-faced woman in a federal jacket. Actually, Mother, Ryan says, his voice steady, we should discuss the irregularities in the foundation's accounts first. Victoria's smile doesn't waver. This isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I step into the room, making Victoria freeze mid-sentence. Before we discuss my aunt's estate, let's talk about how she died. Security! Daniel starts to rise, but the federal agent raises her badge. Nobody leaves this room. Victoria's composure cracks for just a moment. Sarah, dear, shouldn't you be at the hospital? With my sister? The one you poisoned with the same medication cocktail that killed Eleanor? I slide a USB drive across the polished table. Everything's here: the offshore accounts, the falsified medical records, the pattern of mysterious deaths following Harper Foundation interventions. Lies, Victoria hisses, from an unstable woman. From your own records, Marcus steps in, carrying a familiar leather briefcase. The ones you kept in your private safe, the one I installed when I was CFO. Victoria's eyes dart between faces, calculating odds, searching for allies. She finds none. Ryan, she tries, surely you don't believe. I found Eleanor's original medical records, Ryan cuts her off. The ones before you had them altered. I'm done protecting this family's secrets. Victoria laughs, the sound brittle as breaking glass. Protected? You've never protected anything, Ryan. You're weak, just like your father. I built this empire while he played golf and you chased pretty girls. I made us untouchable. You made us monsters, Ryan says quietly. Victoria stands, suddenly radiating fury. Everything I did for this family, for our legacy. You think you can destroy that with some paperwork? I own this town. One phone call. To whom? I ask. Judge Harrison? He's being questioned about Eleanor's probate hearing. Thomas? He's already cutting a deal to save himself. Your pet doctors? They're running scared. You stupid girl. Victoria's smile turns vicious. You think this is justice? Revenge? You're just like the others. Weak, sentimental, easily broken. I'll destroy you, just like I destroyed them. And when I'm done, no one will even remember your name. That's where you're wrong. I pull out my phone, press play. Victoria's own voice fills the room, confessing to Eleanor's murder in the hospital corridor. I don't care if people remember my name. I care that they'll never forget yours. The boardroom erupts into chaos. Federal agents pour in. Daniel crumples in his chair. Board members scramble to distance themselves. But Victoria stands perfectly still, staring at me with something like recognition. Well played, she says softly. I almost wish you were really my daughter-in-law. We could have been magnificent together. I prefer magnificent on my own. As they lead Victoria away, Ryan touches my arm. Sarah, Don't. I step back. You chose your side too late. What happens now? I look around the boardroom at the empire Victoria built through blood and manipulation. Now, I'm going to do what librarians do best, preserve history, make sure no one forgets what happened here. Marcus appears at my shoulder. The federal investigation will take months. They'll want your testimony. They'll have it after I check on my sister. I turn to leave, but Victoria's voice stops me at the door. You think this is over? That you've won? She laughs, the sound echoing off marble walls. Oh, my dear, you have no idea what you've started. I meet her eyes one last time. No, Victoria, this isn't about winning, it's about justice. The difference is what you never understood. The federal agents lead her away, but her laughter follows me down the corridor. I don't look back. I've seen enough of Victoria Harper's face to last a lifetime. Besides, I have a sister to visit, a foundation to rebuild, and a story to tell. And this time, I'll make sure it has the right ending. The old library building still smells like books, even as workers strip away the Harper Foundation logos. Lily sits beside me on the front steps, her recovery visible in the return of color to her cheeks. What will you call it? She asks, watching the new sign being installed. The Eleanor Mitchell Memorial Library and Community Center. I hand her the dedication speech. Want to read it at the opening? She squeezes my hand instead of answering. We both know what it means, her voice getting stronger, her story becoming part of the narrative. Emily appears with coffee and newspaper clippings. Victoria Harper's conviction made headlines, but the smaller stories matter more. The returned properties, the overturned contracts, the lives slowly being rebuilt from the wreckage of Harper Industries. Marcus called, Emily says, settling beside us. He's testifying in another case. Apparently, Victoria's web stretched further than we thought. And Ryan? Cooperating with the investigation. He's selling everything, using the money to set up victim restitution funds. The morning sun catches the library's windows, and for a moment I see Eleanor's reflection instead of mine. What would she think of all this? Of justice served through careful manipulation and calculated revenge? A familiar car pulls up. Thomas, my ex-husband, looking smaller somehow without Victoria's influence propping him up. Sarah, he approaches cautiously. I heard about the opening. I wanted to... He trails off, noticing Lily's sharp gaze. I'm sorry for everything. I know. And I do know, finally. We were all pieces on Victoria's board, moved by her invisible hands. The difference was in how we chose to break free. He leaves a check, his contribution to the restitution fund, and drives away, one more thread in the tapestry of aftermath. Marcus arrives as the workers finish the sign. Quite a legacy you're building. Speaking of legacies, I turn to face him. When were you going to tell me about your daughter? He stiffens slightly. What about her? That Victoria didn't just destroy your career, that your daughter's mysterious illness cleared up as soon as you agreed to leave Harper Industries. His silence speaks volumes. You could have told me. We were fighting the same battle. No, he says quietly. You were fighting for justice. I was fighting for revenge. There's a difference. Is there? He gestures at the library, at the people gathering for the soft opening. Look what you built from the ashes. Me? I'm still burning. Before I can respond, a commotion erupts at the entrance. Daniel Harper stands there, aged decades in mere months, clutching an old book. It was Eleanor's, he says, holding it out like a peace offering. Victoria kept it as insurance. I thought you should have it. Inside, Eleanor's careful handwriting fills the margins with notes about the Harper family, observations, suspicions, plans never enacted. She saw it all coming, but ran out of time to stop it. Thank you, I say, but Daniel's already walking away, another ghost of the empire Victoria built, and I helped destroy. Lily reads over my shoulder. She was trying to protect you, wasn't she? Eleanor. She was trying to protect everyone. I close the book gently. Come on, let's go inside. The library fills with light and voices, children exploring the new reading nook, adults browsing job resources, life flowing back into spaces Victoria tried to control. But as I walk through my rebuilt world, Victoria's last words echo in my mind. You have no idea what you've started. Maybe she was right. Maybe this isn't an ending at all. Emily touches my arm. You okay? Just thinking about stories, I say, watching Lily help a young girl find the perfect book. How they never really end the way you expect. And how's this one ending? I look around at my transformed kingdom, built not from fear and manipulation like Victoria's, but from the ashes of what she destroyed. The power to help or harm, to rebuild or destroy, now rests in my hands. It's not, I realize. It's just changing chapters. The library hums with possibility, with futures being rewritten page by page. Victoria thought power meant controlling the story. I know better now. True power is giving others the chance to write their own.
Spoiled you. You didn't see what she did to me, Maxine added. Keith, I think Maxine might be right to some extent. I wasn't present when you two were teenagers, but I can see what Alina is like. Plus, I have noticed her dismissing Maxine's achievements. There is no use trying to defend me, Carrie. Keith has always been biased about Mom. Watch out, Carrie. If Mom turns on you and wreaks havoc on your life, Keith might just take her side instead, I realized. Maxine and Keith got into a verbal spat after this. They were arguing about Alina's treatment and favoritism. It was very clear to me that Keith was somewhat disillusioned by Alina's motherly behavior towards him. She was actually a very, very toxic woman. I hated to be around her. Maxine's words also stayed with me. After Keith and I got married, I understood that she wasn't far from the truth. Keith ended up bringing Elena along when we announced our engagement. Alina quit her job and demanded that we take care of her, saying that she was getting old, and it was time we took care of her. I never liked her, but I didn't say no, mostly because Keith wanted to take care of his mom. I lost my parents in college, so I didn't have the heart to turn him down. Alina started to live with us, and she quickly became a living nightmare. She constantly ordered me around and literally did nothing all day. After I returned from work, she would say, "What took you so long, Carrie? Have you forgotten that you are a married woman? You should have been here sooner. There are plenty of house chores left. Who will do everything?" "Alina, I had a late meeting and couldn't get home sooner. I can't leave before completing my work in the office." "And what about the work at home? Do you expect me to act like your servant and do it for you?" "I will do everything now. Keith will help out. It's not a big deal, Mom." "You don't have to shout at her, Mom. We will do everything together. It doesn't take time when two people do it together." "Absolutely not, Keith. Men don't do house chores. Your father had never helped me out. This is Carrie's job. If she can't balance work and house chores, she needs to leave her job or get a divorce." "Yep, that's my mother-in-law for you guys. She hated everything I did. I guess she hated my mere existence." Whenever I tried to talk to Keith about her, he would shut me down. He would say, "Mom is old and she has some really conservative ideas. You don't have to take her seriously. She means no harm." "Are you kidding me, Keith? You are not the one on the receiving end of her insults. It's humiliating and exhausting. I can't take her words anymore." "Relax, you are overreacting. Mom can be cranky sometimes. I'll try to talk to her about her behavior. You have to be a little patient with her." Maxine was right. Guys, Keith rarely took my side. Yes, he did defend me against Elena at times, but mostly it was me whom he asked to compromise. I was getting tired of his behavior. What's worse was the fact that I was paying a huge chunk of the household expenses because Keith was supporting Elena with his small salary. I felt disrespected and humiliated even after doing so much for Elena. The worst of Elena's behavior was yet to come. It was a little over a year after we got married. Both me and Keith found 2 job opportunities that would increase our pay by a lot. We both got shortlisted for our respective positions and needed to go through an interview process to get the job. Unfortunately, Keith's interview was delayed due to some reason, but my interview was scheduled to happen shortly. Elena absolutely hated it. She said, "Carrie, you seriously can't be thinking of taking the job. That would not be good at all. You don't need to go to the interview." Why would I not take the job? It would raise my salary so much. I will finally have the job of my dreams. You are a married woman, Carrie. You can't think about your job all the time. If you get the job, you will earn way more than Keith. How can you even think of earning more than your husband? That is so disrespectful. Mom, that is ridiculous. I'm so proud that Carrie has got an amazing offer. I want her to get the job. This is her dream job. I don't care if she earns more than me. Don't be so naive, Keith. She will start to financially abuse you. She will lose all respect for you and treat you like explicit. Plus, she will try to get rid of me. Don't let her go for this interview. I'm no one to stop her, Mom. I'm telling you that I don't mind all these things. You are overreacting a little. Leave her be, Mom. Elena, I have had enough of you treating me like this. It can't happen again. What I do with my life is none of your business. You don't have the right to comment on it. Elena never backed down from her demands. She tried to do everything in her power to dissuade me from attending the interview. She even tried to say that I should not attend the interview to support Keith because he couldn't interview at his job. By the time my interview dates grew near, I had gotten very, very careful. I knew Elena would try to mess things up. Just on the day of the interview, I saw Elena walk into our study right after I left the room with my CV. Back then I thought nothing of it. I was excited for my interview, and also because Keith had finally gotten a call for his interview. It was happening on the very same day. Keith didn't tell Elena because he wanted it to be a surprise when he got the job. However, things came crashing down when I came home after my interview. Keith was looming super sad. I said, "Keith, what's wrong? Why do you look so sad? Did something happen at the interview?" "Carrie didn't get the job. Just look at my damn CV. They took one look at it and rejected me. What are you talking about, Keith? You have the perfect CV. There is no way they were not impressed. Just then, Keith handed me his CV. I was shocked, guys. It wasn't his CV at all. It had my name and gender written on it, but everything mentioned in the CV was wrong. It painted me in a bad light and didn't contain a single word of my actual achievements. I had no idea who made this and how it got mixed with Keith's CV. I could see why bringing in something like this can create a bad impression and result in rejection. Keith was devastated. He said, "I don't understand this, Carrie. How the hell did this happen? This is not your CV. Either it has a bunch of awful things written on it. It can't be that I took yours instead. No, you didn't take mine, Keith. I had an original CV for the interview. That's how I got the job. If I had taken the one you have, they would have never given me the job. This is so bizarre, Carrie. I'm devastated that I lost my job because of this stupid thing. I need to know how this happened. It's killing me from inside seeing Keith in this mental state. It absolutely crushed me. It was true that Keith was looking forward to the job. It pained him to lose it. I was also pretty confused about the fake CV Keith had. And then it clicked in my head. It must have been Alina who had placed Keith's CV. She had no idea Keith had an interview. She was trying to jinx my interview and failed. Immediately I was filled with anger, but I kept my cool. I needed to show Keith what Alina actually is. So I said, "I think you should ask Elena about this, Keith. I'm sure she will have some interesting information for you." "What do you mean, Carrie? What does Mom have to do with this?" "Well, I'm sure you remember how she didn't want me getting the job. I have a feeling she was trying to get my CV replaced. So she printed out a fake CV that would destroy my chances of getting the job. No. Mom would never do that. She didn't even know I had an interview today." "Exactly, Keith. She didn't know you had the interview today. If she had known, she would have been careful. I actually saw her sneaking into the office with a file in her hand. By then, I already had my CV in my bag. I guess she looked at your file cover and thought it was mine." Keith was initially in denial that his mom had something to do with it. But slowly, with my explanations and recounting of the morning's incidents, Keith was getting suspicious. It was becoming apparent to him that Alina may have had something to do with this. He decided to call her. "Mom, come here right now. I need to speak to you." "Keith, what's wrong? Why are you shouting so much?" "I'm coming." "Did you mess with my CV? Answer me truthfully." "What? No. Why would I do that? What CV are you even talking about? I don't understand." "My CV, Mom. The one I was supposed to take to my interview today. What the hell did you do with it?" "I didn't do anything to your CV. I didn't even know you had an interview today. Carrie was the one who had an interview." At this point, Keith narrowed his eyes at Alina and began to suspect her words. I could tell that he was connecting the dots in his head. He immediately asked her, "Mom, tell me the truth. Did you tamper with Carrie's CV? I already know what you did. There is no point in lying." "I don't know what you're talking about. I would do no such thing." "Keith, Elena knew I had an interview. She didn't replace your CV knowingly. She wanted to swap mine and ruin my interview. That's exactly why your CV had my name and gender in the file. Mom, do you have any idea what you have done? You freaking replaced my CV and cost me a good job. I failed the interview because of you, Mom. What the hell is wrong with you?" It finally dawned on Alina that she had ended up committing a big mistake. Instead of swapping my file, she accidentally swapped Keith's file. Alina ended up costing Keith his interview. When she realized that, she immediately started to cry. She said, "Keith, listen to me. This was all a mistake. I never intentionally had you like that. I had dared you into rescheduling. I thought you thought the only Carrie had an interview today, and despite my warnings, you still tried to ruin her chances of getting the job. Why are you so upset about that, Keith? Your wife should not be earning more than you. If she owns more and becomes the breadwinner, no one will call you a man. She will take control of you and kick me out of your life. I did this for your good. You need to stop making yourself the martyr. Have you no shame, Carrie? You cost your son his new job. He was so excited to join this company. You ruined his chance. This was because you couldn't start seeing me having a better job than him. Shut up, Carrie. This is all your fault. If you hadn't tried to get a better job than Keith, I wouldn't have had to do this. There would be no mishap. Okay, if this is all Carrie's fault, I told her not to go for the interview. I had no choice but to stop her. I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted her to get rejected. Keith was already very, very pissed at this point. Hearing Alina's nonsense just set him off even more. All the times I have complained to him, Keith had never been this angry at his mom. He finally understood how cruel and manipulative she could be. Keith just snapped and tore into her. Lena, he said, enough is enough. Mom, me and Carrie brought you into our house and didn't take a penny from you. This is how you repay us. Have you no shame, Mom? You have to understand, Keith, Carrie is responsible for this. She constantly pushed my buttons and forced me to do these things. She wants me out of your life. That's why she's blaming everything on me. My wife selflessly took you in without any complaints. You are the one who started all the trouble. For months, I ignored her concerns and took your side. I protected you because you are my mom. Now I can see that I did wrong. I should have kicked you out sooner. How can you say that, Keith? You can't just kick out your mom. I know you can never do it. You're just angry at me. You don't mean this. Yes, I meant every word I said. Starting today, you are never welcome in our house again. We will formally give you a month's notice. After that, I don't care where you go. You won't live with us. No, Keith. You can't do this. Carrie, you witch, you've destroyed my life. You're taking away my son. I will never forgive you. Don't blame me, Alina. You are the one who brought this upon yourself. I did not instigate anything. You destroyed your relationship with Keith all by yourself. You must be so happy. This is making you very happy, isn't it? I will not let you go, you witch. Saying that, Alina lunged at me and tried to grab me by my hair. She was already pulling at my scalp when Keith intervened and got her off me. He then started to scream at Alina and went ape on her. It got so bad that Alina started to cry uncontrollably. Keith actually threatened to press charges against her and kicked her out instantly. Alina didn't make a fuss because she was scared that Keith would really call the police. When Alina finally left the house in her car, Keith started to calm down. But after his anger subsided, he immediately burst into tears. I guess his frustration with the interview and with Elena really made him break down. Through his tears, he said, "I'm so sorry, Carrie. I really should have listened to you. I almost cost you your job because I didn't want to upset my mom. She just showed me how wrong I was about her. She attacked you for God's sake. I don't know how to face you. I'm ashamed. Say that Keith or this is on Alina. Please don't blame yourself for what happened. I'm not happy with being validated. It came at the expense of your job. I rather wish it was me who lost the interview. No, I'm glad it was me. I was the one at fault. I should have kicked Mum out sooner. Don't worry, Carrie. After today, I won't ever allow Mum into our lives. She is unhinged and a toxic woman. I am done with her. He promised me that Elena would never come near us again. Plus, he told me that from now on, he would make more contributions to our household. He would be cutting Elena off financially as well. He said that it was unfair I paid most of our bills to allow him to help someone who hated me. Keith wanted no contact with Elena anymore. Elena did try to get in touch with Keith. It was mostly her begging for forgiveness. She initially sent me some threatening texts. After I sent her a warning about calling the police, she backtracked and begged me for forgiveness as well. She knew that she was stuck in a deep hole. No thanks to her, she was staying at Maxine's place, who knew all about her antics, and she was making her get a job to support herself. She had no intention of having her mom freeload on her. Maxine would get her revenge too. It's only a matter of time. It's been over 8 months since the incident. Maxine has unceremoniously kicked out Elena after she pestered her to look after her. She was banned from her house, and her husband told Elena never to return. Elena was forced to move to a different state to some relative we barely know. I sent them a nice email about Elena's antics. Yes, I found the email through Maxine. Like I said, Maxine is a sweetheart. Our families have gotten much closer now that Elena is not here with her favoritism. Keith has also apologized to Maxine for disregarding her feelings. They are now very close, and we hang out regularly. Keith has also enrolled in college so he can get a master's degree. It would help him get a better job in his field. With my current income, we are having no trouble with money. Keith has always supported me to chase my dreams. It was only fair that I do the same for him. Elena's departure has actually made our lives better, and I hope it stays that way for the years to come.
I'm sorry, John, but we need you to leave the company. I was called into the HR director's office and was told this. My name's John. I was working as a full-time employee at a grocery store, and yes, I had just been laid off due to the store's financial struggles. Over the past few years, they resulted in cutting personnel costs through a massive downsizing. That day, I became jobless. I slowly pedaled my bicycle on the way home. I didn't even feel like making dinner. Although it'd be a bit of a detour, I thought of picking up a takeaway burger, so I took a less traveled back street off the main road. Just when I was almost at the burger shop, I noticed an elderly lady sitting on the ground. "Are you okay?" I hopped off my bike and ran over. She had fallen and hurt her leg. She couldn't get up on her own and was in distress since there weren't any people around to help. "Sorry about this. Could you give me a hand? Without something to hold on to, it's hard to get up." Ouch! Even though she grimaced in pain, it seemed like she could walk with a limp. I quickly gathered up her scattered groceries and put them back in her bag. "Good that nothing here looks broken or crushed. Thank you so much. You're a lifesaver." As we talked, I properly looked into the elderly lady's face for the first time. "Wait a minute, aren't you that guy from the store?" With what she said, I finally remembered. This elderly lady was a regular customer at the grocery store where I worked. Perhaps recognizing a familiar face put her at ease as she looked relieved. She tried to receive the grocery bags from me, but it was clear she couldn't carry them and walk. I asked if there was anyone who could come pick her up, but at this time of day, no one was at home. Worried she might fall again, I decided to carry her bags and accompany her home. "I'm so sorry, John. Thank you." She held onto my arm and we walked slowly together. "If you could lead me to a handrail, I'll be fine from there. Thanks so much for helping." She kept apologizing, so I reassured her with a smile that it was no trouble at all. "You really are kind. You always serve customers with a smile at the store, which makes me very happy." While I appreciated her kind words, it made me feel a bit conflicted. That feeling turned into a faint laugh. "You seem a bit down. Everything okay?" She gave me a curious look, occasionally glancing at my face. "Well, actually today was my last day at that store." "Oh dear, were you transferred or did you find another job?" When she asked, I honestly told her that I'd been laid off. As we chatted, we arrived at her house. It was a slightly large single-family home with stylish flower beds on both sides of the walkway leading to the entrance. With garden lights illuminating our path, we walked slowly towards the front door. "You can put everything down here. That bag must have been heavy. I'm truly grateful that you passed by, thank you." There was a step leading to the front door, and the thought of her possibly falling inside had me concerned. "If you don't mind, I can carry it inside for you." Upon my offer, the elderly lady replied with a pleased look. "Well then, I might just accept your kind offer." After I finished carrying the bag, she offered me some tea as her proof of appreciation. Just then, her cell phone rang. "Oh, it's Ashley. Please excuse me for a moment. She apologized to me and took the call, updating the person on the other end about the situation. There's no need to rush. Could you pick up some lunch? Yes, that sounds good. Thanks, dear. She hung up the phone after saying that. That was my granddaughter, she said. She'll be home soon. Hearing that, I felt relieved and thought about leaving. Wait, Ashley is bringing lunch. It's getting late, and she said she's getting lunch for you too. I think she's already picked it up from the deli. Please, can you at least accept that from us? Hearing her plea, I hesitated about what to do. Then I decided to graciously accept her kind offer. I was invited to sit, and we made small talk until Ashley returned. The elderly lady began talking about Ashley. Ashley's parents passed away in a car accident when she was still young. Unfortunately, the couple were both involved in the accident. From then on, it's just been the two of them living together. Ashley has grown up, but she stays with her grandmother, always worrying about her, she said. It's clear how caring and gentle Ashley is, always putting her grandmother first. Every day after work, she comes straight home without any detours. At the end, the elderly lady expressed concerns about Ashley not dating and wished she'd think about her own happiness soon. She probably can't leave the house because she's worried about me, she mentioned. You know, I'd be thrilled if a kind person like you married her. Oh, speaking of which, would you consider marrying my granddaughter? What? She really is a wonderful girl and quite clever. This turn of events was absolutely unexpected. Having her suddenly propose marriage threw me off, and the tender feelings I'd felt earlier flew right out the window. But it got me thinking, is being offered a marriage proposal a common thing in the service industry? I've been approached with the "how about my daughter" line at the supermarket before, and I've heard my female coworker getting the "be my son's bride" line. It's always awkward when someone says that. All you can really do is laugh it off. Suddenly, I heard "I'm home" from the entrance. I figured Ashley must have returned and got up from my seat. As I turned toward the door, there she was, just entering the room. "Hi, I hope I'm not bothering you," I said. "I'm so sorry for the trouble. It seems my grandma has been in your care. Thank you so much." She looked apologetic, but I was captivated by her appearance. Ashley was in her office uniform, her hair pulled back, and she was strikingly fair-skinned with bright eyes. She had a gentle vibe, seeming like such a kind soul. I just kept bowing my head slightly, losing my words in front of her. The elderly lady turned to Ashley, starting to chatter away with a happy gleam in her eyes. "Welcome home. So, this gentleman here, he's the cashier from the grocery store I always visit. I'm so glad such a kind soul was there to help me out. ####. Oh, Ashley. What do you think of him? He's genuinely a great guy. Seems like Grandma brought home a potential guy for you." The elderly lady placed her hand over her mouth, her face beaming with joy. Seeing her like this, Ashley responded with a confused tone. "What are you talking about?" "I mean, he could be your future husband." Upon hearing that, I was taken aback, wondering if her earlier comment was really just a joke. Of course, Ashley was just as surprised and flustered. "Grandma, what are you saying? It's rude to say that about someone I've just met. I'm so sorry." "Oh dear, I've met him several times before." I couldn't help but chuckle, commenting, "You two really seem close." Ashley, with an apologetic look, thanked me for the day and handed me a packed lunch. Knowing she had bought one for me, I gratefully accepted it. Then the elderly lady asked, "Why don't you eat it now?" Ashley intervened, "I don't think that's fine with him," and I decided to decline her offer. I expressed my gratitude, and Ashley and I headed towards the entrance. As I put on my shoes and looked back, the elderly lady was limping over to send me off. "Thank you so much. I'm sorry for keeping you up late, and I apologize for not expressing my gratitude properly. Feel free to visit next time." I responded, "Not at all. Thank you for the lunch," feeling warm-hearted by their kindness. I perceived her words as her polite social etiquette, but they still warmed my heart. Just as I was about to open the door and leave, something happened. "That's right. If it's not too much trouble, could you come over again tomorrow?" With this leg, I might not be able to manage it. Apparently, she's arranged a delivery of plants and saplings for her garden tomorrow, but with the pain in her leg, she might not be able to do the job properly. As the elderly lady was speaking, Ashley seemed confused upon hearing what she said. That's just too much, Grandma. You're acting weird today. Are you okay? You didn't hit your head, did you? Let me check if you have any injuries. I didn't hit my head at all. It's just my foot that hurts. Ashley seemed genuinely concerned, checking Grandma's head for any injuries and asking if anywhere else hurt. With what the elderly lady has asked me, I was surprised too, although I'm jobless anyway, and I don't have any plans for tomorrow. If she needs help, I have plenty of time. Should I come over tomorrow? Only if it's not a bother. Ashley hesitated, apologizing, but in the end, we agreed I'd visit in the afternoon. The next day, as promised, I went to the elderly lady's place. Thank you so much. You're a lifesaver. While I had the elderly lady sit on a small chair, she taught me how to care for the garden. After all, we both enjoyed this moment. But during that, I heard an interesting story. Currently, Ashley is working full-time in an office, but apparently, she's always dreamed of opening a cafe since she was little. She's even graduated from a culinary school. During her college days, she had experience working part-time in eateries, but in the end, she chose to be an office worker. Even if she were to own a cafe or work full-time in one, she'd be working from morning until late at night. But she definitely still wants to open a cafe. The reason the elderly lady mentioned me being a potential spouse for Ashley was because she thought if there was someone skilled in customer service, she could start her cafe confidently. Plus, she genuinely felt that Ashley and I might get along well. The day after hearing that, I went over to the elderly lady's house again. After replanting some flowers yesterday, there was some space left, so I decided to buy more plants to fill it. Today's Saturday, and it seems Ashley had a day off. I made her quite surprised. Goodness, Grandma, did you ask him to come again today? I hope it's not too much trouble. I'm really sorry, Ashley said upon seeing me. Ashley immediately apologized, and I briefly explained the circumstances of my visit today. After planting the additional flowers and watering them, Ashley kindly offered, "Why don't you take a break sitting on the porch?" The three of us sipped on our coffee. Then the elderly lady cleared her throat softly and said, "Hey Ashley, I really want you to achieve your dreams soon." "Ah, what do you mean?" Ashley tried to play it off with a tilted smile. "I don't want you to hold back just for me. I know you're still planning a lot of things," the elderly lady revealed. She knew how Ashley secretly jots down numerous notes in preparation for her dream. It'd be tough to do it alone, but maybe with someone else's help, it'd be easier. John here is great with customers. How about getting some help from him? "Oh, Grandma, you can't just say things easily," Ashley responded, her eyes slightly teary. "If Ashley's okay with it, I love dealing with customers. But I know trusting an unemployed guy is a hard thing," I said. "No way, John. I love the way you handle your customers. You'd be a great partner for Ashley," the elderly lady said without missing a beat, making both Ashley and me chuckle. "Oh, Grandma, always acting wild on your own," Ashley playfully remarked. The three of us laughed, lightening the mood for a bit, but soon after, Ashley's expression changed. She seemed deep in thought, biting her lip. "You know, maybe Grandma is right. Maybe now's the time to start," Ashley murmured, as if speaking to herself. Maybe she changed her mind, but Ashley mentioned she would reflect on it for a day. Then the following Sunday, I went over to the elderly lady's house again. It seemed her leg was improving, so I thought of making today the last day of taking care of her. As I was working on the garden with the elderly lady, Ashley approached me, asking, "Can I talk to you for a sec?" She had prepared coffee on the porch, and in her hand, she held a notebook. "It's a little embarrassing, but can you take a look?" she said, handing over the notebook she had been gripping tightly. Flipping through a page, it was filled with writing. Surprisingly, every page was like that. There were drawings of an ideal cafe's exterior, food illustrations, and tons of recipes. I couldn't help but exclaim, This is amazing. I've been thinking about opening a cafe. I really want to do what I love, Ashley said, looking a bit shy, her eyes sparkling. When Ashley thought about doing it on her own, she was worried about being completely tied down to the business and also concerned about her grandma being at home, all by herself. But she felt that if someone could be with her, it might ease some of that stress. Moreover, Ashley mentioned she had seen me working at the grocery store. She recalled that I had good customer service skills. If it's not too much trouble, could you join me? I know it's a bit shameless of me to ask. The idea of me becoming a cafe employee wasn't something I had taken too seriously. I never expected her to actually ask. But seeing Ashley's passion in her notes and my own desire to work in customer service again, combined with my urge to try something different, I felt a spark. If you're okay with me, let's do this together, I said, holding my hand out to Ashley. Seeing this, Ashley looked surprised but gave a joyful smile. We then firmly shook hands. She must have been nervous, asking me. "Oh, thank goodness," she exclaimed, shaking my hand vigorously. She was genuinely happy. "Shall we open up our own cafe?" she asked excitedly. "Let's go for it." I matched her enthusiasm and responded cheerfully. From that day on, Ashley and I exchanged contact information, communicated through emails, and discussed things at home. We looked at vacant store spaces together and consulted with contractors. Ashley steadily progressed with the preparations, and I supported her throughout. In addition, I began a morning part-time job until the cafe was set up. Although I had some savings, I thought it would be a good idea to earn a bit more for daily expenses since I had the time. And 6 months later, the cafe opened. We found a perfect little vacant shop, and with some renovations, we were ready to start. On the opening day, the place was bustling with neighbors, friends, and people who had seen our flyers. After closing on the grand opening day, they held a celebratory gathering with the elderly lady joining in too. "Thank you, John, for making this dream come true with me." "No, I should be the one thanking you. See, I knew my intuition about you was right. Must be fate." Honestly, fate and destiny might be more real than I thought. The day I was laid off from my job, I helped an elderly lady and met her granddaughter Ashley. Now I'm working beside Ashley to open her dream cafe. You see, John, it wasn't in vain, right? You might have been down that day, thinking about why you've been working for all this time. But now, your warm hospitality is shining. It all had a purpose, and of course, it's also because you're such a good person, right? Ashley, Grandma found a keeper, didn't she? At that, both Ashley and I exchanged she smiles. Then the elderly lady added, "It reminds me of the old days," looking at Ashley's parents. Saying that, she had a distant look in her eyes. Ashley was taken aback by those words and looked at her grandmother's face. "Ashley, you look like your mom and have a fine charm like her. John, you have that gentle aura just like my son." Ashley was so young back then that I don't think she remembers. But you see, this is where Ashley's parents used to have their shop. Hearing that, both Ashley and I exclaimed, "What?" in surprise. Turns out Ashley's parents used to run a coffee shop right at this spot. The elderly lady realized it when she came to see the store after the renovation was finished. She was so shocked that she was speechless. When she got home and went to her room, that's when her emotions finally caught up, and she broke down crying. She thought about telling Ashley right away, but decided to keep it quiet until the store officially opened. She wanted Ashley, who was so passionately chasing her dream, to be able to build the store freely without any disruptions. But as the interior progressed steadily, the elderly lady was even more astounded. Ashley's taste was just like her parents'. Whether she was told earlier or not, it would have been the same. And then there was a bank buck. She gave Ashley a startup fund. Turns out it was the life insurance money from Ashley's parents that Grandma had carefully saved just for Ashley. The elderly lady, with teary eyes, said that she's sure Ashley's parents would be delighted to have been able to support Ashley's dream. Also, those sunflowers displayed in the shop, it was John who suggested decorating with them, wasn't it? He said they perfectly matched Ashley's vibe. You know, my son once told Ashley's mom the same thing. It's truly mysterious. It might not have been a coincidence, but destiny. Hearing this, I felt emotions I've never felt before. Did I make it a bit melancholic? At her words, all three of us managed to smile and wiped away our tears. Suddenly, she exclaimed, clapped her hands, and leaned forward. Now you two, don't you have something important to discuss? Got something to tell your old granny? Donya puzzled as Ashley and I exchanged glances. The grandma chuckled, causing both Ashley and I to blush. Oh my, was I early? Haven't you told her yet? I've known for a while. With that, the elderly lady burst into laughter again. Well, I should just leave you two alone. Grinning, the elderly lady headed to the back room. Left alone, Ashley and I awkwardly looked at each other and shared a shy smile. But this was it. It was now or never. Would you? Oh, what? That was when we officially started dating. Time flew, and as for the cafe, thanks to everyone's support, it's been thriving. Our whole grain bread and vegetable-rich sandwiches for breakfast have become a hit. They are low in sugar and calories, which is one of our top recommendations. Ashley and I are getting along very well, both in the kitchen and the dining area. About 3 months into our relationship, we started to discuss our marriage, and on our cafe's first anniversary, we actually registered our marriage. When we broke the news to the grandma, she cried tears of joy. After getting married, the three of us live in grandma's house. She told us, "You're newlyweds, why not live on your own?" But I felt safer here, and above all, it was more fun living with her. Thanks to that, every day is filled with smiles. I hope we continue to live with this happiness and harmony.
Since the birth of Lily, things have changed. Mark's face used to light up whenever I entered a room. If I managed to extract a grunt out of him before he buried his nose in his phone again, I'm lucky. Something in him changed the day we brought her home, yet his work is still the same, and may even be less stressful than it was before. Grace, another painting. Is it the third day of the week? Every time he saw me arranging my easel, Mark's voice would cling to the air, sticky and harsh. He once had my greatest painting displayed in his office since he liked my work. No more. I would respond, "Yeah, so it's not like I'm spending your money," attempting to hide my hand trembling so I could concentrate on blending the blues and yellows on my palette. On the inside, though, every phrase he threw seemed like a blow. I may have been duped. And have a peek at this location. It seems like it was struck by a tornado. He looked around the room, displaying every misplaced blanket and toy as proof of my shortcomings. Look, I'm with Lily all day, and she's a handful. My voice might not be as steady as I would want, but I would fight back. And maybe if you helped a little around here. What do you need help with? You're always at home. You handle it. Remember, that was our agreement. You take care of the rest. I make the money. You can't manage, and it's not my responsibility. There would be no dispute because he would shut me off. Every night ended the same way, with him scoffing and turning away from me. Lily would grab at the hem of my blouse as Daddy went for work, her small eyes bewildered. She would inquire, her little lips trembling at the idea. Daddy mad. No, sweetheart. Daddy is just thinking about a lot of things. Assist Mama with selecting the colors here. I would cradle her in my arms while directing her hand to identify colors and attempting to smile for her. We painted together, and for a time, her laughing at our common color world would overpower the resentment in Mark's voice. I knew my paintings were wonderful because they were all I had left over from a period when I felt energetic and self-assured. Not because I was arrogant. When Mark got home that night, I did what I always did. I made an effort to welcome him with a hot meal, a tidy home, and Lily in her finest pajamas, just out of the shower. I said, "Hey," with the aroma of roast chicken following me. "How was your day?" In response, he shrugged off his coat and tossed it over the couch with a grunt. His gaze met mine, then shifted to the easel that was positioned in our living room's corner. Still haven't gotten rid of that junk, huh? Mark, it's not garbage. I'm working on something, I said, my fatigue evident. It seems like a waste of money and effort. You might be doing something useful. Without waiting for a response, he moved by me to the refrigerator. Productive seemed to refer to everything that brought him financial gain or eased his burdens. I assumed that neither was to his liking. I said, I am doing something, in a stronger tone. I'm trying to hold on to something that is important to me while parenting our kid and maintaining our house. I care about my art. He opened a beer and took a long gulp without even pausing. Grace, call it what you want. It appears to me that you are creating a mess only to pass the time. I'll need to hire someone to do the cleanup. It wasn't the harshness of the remarks that hurt me. I was growing accustomed to it, but from the rejection of my passion and goals. They no longer had a place in Mark's universe. In what seemed like a weekly performance, I said, "Dinner's ready," while standing with trembling hands and presenting the dish. My attempt to prepare a hot, filling supper was hardly noticed by Mark's parents, who were sat at the head of the table like judges. The easel at the window was the center of their attention. "What's this, then?" George, Mark's father, poked a finger at my incomplete painting. He was a big guy with a voice that filled the room. Mark laughed and waved a dismissive hand before settling in. "Oh, that's just something Grace has been fooling around with," he said. "Real high-class stuff, right?" My nerves twitched as laughter erupted, a laugh that missed their eyes. With a voice as keen as steel, Mark's mother, Patricia, said, My, we're an artist now, are we? Why don't you show us your latest masterpiece, dear?" George roared, his smile not so much an expression of curiosity as of challenge. I felt the heat creep up my neck as I stood, anchored to the place. "It's not done yet," I muttered, but Mark was already striding over to the canvas, grabbing it with less care than he'd take with a dish towel. "Look at this, folks," Mark laughed, flipping the canvas around like he was being a white reveal on Wheel of Fortune. "It's supposed to be a landscape. Can you believe it?" George's laughter bloomed loud again. "Looks like a blind dog's nightmare," he said. Patricia tutted, shaking her head, her nostrils flaring with each word. "Why waste your time with this hobby? Get a job or do something. Anything productive." As if any place would hire her. Mark snorted, setting the painting back with a thud that made my heart sink. "The job market's tough out there, and well, look at her." I swallowed hard, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. "I do plenty. I take care of Lily in this house." "And taking care of your family is the least you can do," Patricia sniffed. "But honestly, Mark, if you'd married someone with a little ambition." They went on, tearing strips off me with every word while I just stood there. The room closed in, their words pressing on my chest, squeezing the air from my lungs. I felt myself slipping away, becoming smaller, insignificant in this grand performance of theirs. Something in me snapped. As soon as the meal ended, with a fake smile in my voice, I excused myself, marched up the stairs, not looking back, and locked myself in the bedroom. Grace, Mark's voice climbed up the stairs, maybe half an hour later, cracking through the door. "You coming back down? We need to clear the table." I didn't respond. I couldn't. If I opened my mouth, a scream or a sob would have come out, and I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of hearing my break. I scrolled through my bank app, a frown etching deeper lines on my face. Our account was looking dire again this month, and the grocery list wasn't getting any shorter. Lily needed new shoes, too. She was sprouting like a weed. Mark's voice tumbled in from the living room. "Grace, why is there a charge for $48.95 for Martin's art supplies?" "Just picked up a few things," I said, tapping through the app to transfer what remained of my personal savings to cover it. I needed them. "Come on, Grace, that's money we could have put towards something important, isn't it?" His voice was flat, bored even, with a hint of something else. Was it disappointment? Frustration? I sighed. "Art is important to me, Mark, the same way your golf is important to you." I didn't mention the fact that his golf clubs cost more than a year's worth of my supplies. "Yeah, but golf is networking." It's part of my job. What does your painting get us? A cluttered house and wasted cash, he said, grumbling. It gets me through the day, I murmured, feeling that old familiar tug-of-war in my chest. Mark snorted. Through the day, we have to be smart about money, not just spend it on whatever gets us through the day. Budget, Grace. Budget. That word felt like a choke chain. I pay for my art supplies with my own money. Mark, the money I had before I trailed off, not wanting another fight. My before was a long-gone chapter 1 that contained a job, independence, and a once-shared dream of my own gallery. Your money's our money, isn't it? He shot back, the insinuation that my financial independence was history clear in his tone, and that your money is running out fast. What then? Later, at the store, I chose the cheaper brands, counting every cent, every compromise. I bought the smallest tubes of paint, the ones I could slip into the cart without raising eyebrows. Back home, I unpacked the bags with robotic precision, every item a testament to our tightrope, walk above financial ruin. Putting back some luxuries, are we? Mark commented, his gaze landing on the no-name cereal and store-brand pasta. Yes, tightening the belt, I answered without looking at him, hiding the receipts, a paper trail of my crimes. He hummed, rummaging through the bags like an investigator looking for a slip-up. Where are the Greek yogurts you like? And isn't this the cheap coffee? He asked. I shrugged, busying myself with placing a can of tomatoes in the pantry. Prices went up, had to make some cuts. Don't see any cuts in your art budget, though, he said, a cold finger pointing out the new brushes I'd slipped under a loaf of bread. I turned to him, meeting his eyes for the first time since the conversation began. This keeps me sane, Mark. My art keeps me sane. My voice was firm, and I clenched my fist around the countertop to stop the shake in my hand. Well, sanity's quite the luxury item these days, eh? He nodded towards the brushes, his words deliberate, biting. That night, I painted, not out of passion, but frustration. Each stroke was a challenge, a cut from our personal budget to fit it within the constraints of Mark's expectations. But as I worked, I remembered a time when these brushes were a joy to hold, not a weapon I had to defend. Mark was somewhere across the country, tangled up in business trip meetings, when he decided to drop the latest task on me. His voice buzzed through my phone, sounding like he was already out the door before he even finished his sentence. Grace, you gotta pull together a birthday present for my boss's wife, Clara. Her big day's in a week. Okay, do you have any cash set aside for that? I asked, squinting at our already tight budget on my laptop screen. Nah, you figure it out. Just make it look like we put some thought into it, he muttered, sounding distracted. Hang on, you want something nice, but I'm supposed to magic up the funds for it. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks. You always find a way, make it happen, Grace. And with that cheery little line, he was gone. I let out a long, slow breath, closing my eyes, and trying to push back the frustration gnawing at my last nerve. I didn't have the cash, but I needed something that would knock Clara's socks off. No pressure. Right after a deep dive into Clara's online world, it was clear she had a thing for art. Her feed was full of gallery visits, pictures of canvases that probably cost more than our car. She even had photos with artists, talked about supporting the arts, patronage, and all that jazz. An idea sparked, and I grabbed it before it could blaze out of my mind. A painting from me. I had the paints, I had the canvas. I sure as hell had the motive. I'd give Clara something no one else could, not off some high street. I spun the idea in my mind, letting it settle. I could picture the brush strokes already, feel the drag of bristles against canvas. It would be personal, and it would be free. Bonus, a painting. Then decision made. I was going to need every minute of every day if it was going to look anything like the kind of stuff Clara posted. I pulled out my old easel, set it up in the living room, and got to work, all the while fingers crossed that my little slice of creativity would cut it in the high-stakes world of business birthday gifts. Day 1, postmark bombshell. I'm standing in the middle of my makeshift studio, a corner of the dining room I've cleared out, pushing the table against the wall. The morning light streaming in, kind of highlighting the chaos of my art supplies spread all over. "Mommy, what's all this?" Lily, my 6-year-old, parks herself right in the middle of the chaos, her eyes as round as the splattered paint drops on the floor. "Mommy's got to make a birthday present, baby," I reply, rifling through old brushes with bristles stiffer than my back. "For who?" She picks up a brush, examining the crusty edges like a pro. "For a lady Daddy works with," I explain, snatching the brush from her before it becomes a makeshift sword or fairy wand. Lily's forehead scrunches up in confusion. "But why can't Daddy buy something?" "Lily, go watch your cartoons, will you? I need to think." I'm not in the mood to unpack the complexities of our bank account or my marriage to a kindergartner. Grumbling something under her breath, sounding too much like me for comfort, she trots off to the living room, leaving me to my quandary. The week grinds by. I'm pulling double shifts. Daytime mommy, nighttime Picasso. The canvas starts to fill, taking on a life of its own. Something abstract, something that feels kind of like the whirlwind that's my life lately. I don't hear a peep from Mark. No check-in calls, not even a text asking how it's going. Guess he's too wrapped up in his charts, deals, and whatever he does that's too important to ring his wife. Lily, on the other hand, is my tiny shadow, always creeping back to watch me paint. "You're really good, Mommy," she says on day 4. "You should draw stuff more." I smile because that's probably the best review I'll ever get. "Think so, huh? Maybe I will." The night before the big reveal, the painting's finally staring back at me done. It's not just art, it's everything I haven't been able to say or do, all poured out onto canvas. I can't sleep that night, tossing and turning, thoughts swirling in my head. What if Clara hates it? What if Mark thinks I've wasted my time? What if? But the morning comes, clear and bright. The painting's wrapped up, no fancy paper, just brown parcel stuff, but neat, with a nice bow from Lily's hair ribbons. Because why not? So there I was at the boss's wife's birthday bash, my arms wrapped tight around a package. The painting I hoped would be a hit. I slid through the crowd, eyes low, wishing I could blend into the wallpaper. Mark was there too, just flown in hot from his latest trip, looking every inch the man who had it all, except the picture-perfect trophy wife. His eye swept over the women, polished and perfect in their cocktail dresses, then landed on me like a ton of bricks. I saw that look on his face, like he just bit into a lemon. He looked me up and down and shook his head, just enough so only I'd notice. The room faded a bit, like someone turned down the volume on the party, and all I could hear was my heartbeat in my ears. Then his gaze zeroed in on the parcel, all wrapped up and nestled in my shaky grip. His eyes flashed, and oh boy, I knew that look. I saw the storm brewing before the first word even shot out. "What's that?" he spat, barely keeping a lid on it. I pulled the package closer, as if I could shield it, and me, from what was coming. "It's a gift, I started, but the words barely had a chance to hang in the air before his voice boomed. "A painting." "You're kidding, right?" It was loud enough to catch a few glances our way. I tried to shush him with my eyes, but he was past caring. "You actually think this is okay? To hand her a piece of amateur hour?" The whispers around us started like the start of a rain, soft, but getting stronger. "Mark, please, not here," I begged, my cheeks flaming up something fierce. "Did you lose your mind?" he roared, and the room didn't just pause, it froze. "You make us look like fools." By now, we were the main event. Eyes flicked to us, then away, then back again, like they were watching tennis. I shrank, wishing I could melt right into the floorboards. His face was a shade of red I'd only ever seen on traffic lights. "Great, just great, Grace," he vented, throwing his hands up. "You don't think, do you?" The heat in my face told me I was blushing, and not in a cute way. My hand shook, but I hugged the painting tighter. What else was there to hang on to? I took a breath, trying to remember why I thought this was a good idea. Now everyone's going to have a go at us. Thanks to you and your dumb idea," he added, sharp as a knife, for anyone still pretending they weren't listening. My mouth opened, words ready to tumble out to defend, or maybe just to tell him to put a sock in it. But what was there to say with the whole room's eyes burning holes into us? Instead, I just stood there, the fool he called me, wishing the ground would do me a favor and swallow me whole. The laughter after Mark's outburst felt like daggers. Even with the room spinning, I caught the boss's eye. He was just watching, all quiet, with something like confusion on his face. His wife, Clara, had this half-concerned, half-intrigued frown that actually gave me a sliver of hope. Clara waved a hand, cutting through the noise. "Quiet down, everyone. Let's see what Grace has brought." I moved on autopilot, my hands still a bit jittery as they tore the paper from the canvas. The art kind of just spilled out into the room. All the colors and shapes I'd spent nights pouring myself into. Clara's eyebrows shot up. "Oh my," she said, and the room hushed like they were waiting for her to drop the hammer. But then she continued, "This is quite something, Grace." Mark was still fuming by my side. "Yeah, something, all right," he muttered. I ignored him and searched Clara's face for some sign. It's for you," I mumbled. "Happy birthday." She tilted her head, studying the painting like it was a puzzle. "It's bold. I like bold." "Told you, darling." She nudged her husband, pulling him into this. The boss was a tough guy to read, but he nodded. Don't see something like that every day. Mark tried to jump back in. "Oh, come on, you're saying you like this mess." And there it was, the snap in Clara's voice as she turned to him with a squint. "Mark, I'd watch it if I were you. Your wife has talent, and I won't have you embarrass her any further. It's unbecoming." The room fell into this tense kind of quiet, the kind where you could hear someone sneeze 3 houses down. "Look at the colors, the feeling in it," Clara was saying. "Now it's got life." Mark tried for a save. "Well, sure, if you like that sort of thing." But Clara cut him off. "I do. It's decided. This goes right in the foyer." I blinked. Was this actually happening? "You sure, babe?" The boss chimed in. "It's not exactly." Clara shot him a look and he trailed off. Standard, right. "It's unique," she said, her arm shot out to me. A beacon in the high heels and overpriced suit. "See, thank you, Grace. This here's a real gift, folks. It's got soul." And just like that, the murmur started up again, but they had a different tune. People were nodding, some even looking at me with what felt like respect. Clara, still holding my painting like it was a treasure, turned her eyes on me again. "So, Grace," she said, drawing the room's focus, "ever thought about showing your work? Like in a gallery?" Mark let out a scoff. I heard it, but my eyes were glued to Clara. "Who'd want to see my stuff?" I asked. "Don't worry, Grace. I would. And I know people." Clara's voice was firm, her eyes sharp. Mark tried to laugh it off. "Come on, Clara. She's just dabbling." Clara quirked an eyebrow at him. "So she dabbles better than some pros I know. What's it to you?" I swallowed, feeling like I was teetering on the edge of something big. I don't know. I've never. What's to know? You jump in, I'll help." Clara's look said she wasn't asking. She was telling. A chuckle escaped my lips. Even to my own ears, it seemed a little frantic and uneasy. "Sure." Clara smiled. "All right. Then it's resolved." Then, like moths to a flame, murmurs flew about. Now, people who hardly paid attention to me were chatting about my job while hanging on my arm. It was like strolling into someone else's life, and it seemed unreal. Mark appeared out of nowhere with an almost scorching palm on my back. "You're not serious about this, are you?" His voice had that sharp edge that threatened to sever. Feeling the weight of the throng and the attraction of something new, I turned to face him. My voice was louder than it had been in years. "Yeah, I am," I said. That night was the first time he looked at me, actually looked at me. "But what about us?" What about us? I said it again. We've been over for a longer time than I want to admit. He was shaken by that. He took a step back. I thought we were fine. I looked him in the face. You thought wrong. I didn't mean to say those things, but they had to be uttered. Mark looked battered and ran a hand over his hair. What the heck? We simply terminated. I glanced down at the color splattered over my fingernails and the rings that no longer had their intended meaning. We broke up a while back. We're simply formally announcing it now. There was nothing he could say about that. His shoulders bowed as he walked away, and I watched. My shoulder was touched by Clara's hand. You okay, Han? I gave a nod. Yes, I am. Many thanks. She gave a wink. What are friends for, right? She paused and squeezed my shoulder. And you, Grace, she said. Your artwork is going to illuminate this community. Simply wait. My heart began to pound after that, but for a completely different set of reasons. Not only was there a conclusion, but also a start. Additionally, it was painted in the most striking hues I could think of. We'd be all right, Lily and myself. We would be ourselves. Unreservedly, uncompromisingly us.
It's embarrassing that our eldest only finished high school, while the younger one achieved so much. The voice that demeaned me belonged to my mother at our family home. My father nodded along, and my brother, caught in the middle, beamed proudly knowing he was being praised. My brother went to a prestigious university, while I started working after graduating high school. My parents always praised my brother, calling him an elite who had made efforts. Why did such a gap form between us? I am Nicole, a 26-year-old web designer. Born in a somewhat rural town. I lived with my grandparents, parents, and younger brother, Sean. Sean was the long-awaited boy, born 7 years after me, and naturally, our parents adored him. They always prioritized his needs and whims over mine, often leaving me feeling neglected. Moreover, our parents never treated us equally. For Sean's birthday, they'd give him big toys as gifts, but since my birthday was close to Christmas, I'd get just one gift combined for both occasions. Usually something educational like study tools. When Sean started playing soccer as a club activity, our parents attended every practice and game to support him. I was in the tennis club during middle school, but even at my final match before retiring, neither parent came because they had to drive Sean around. There were days I felt like crying, but Sean comforted me. He even said to our parents, "That's not true. Nicole is smarter and she even teaches me. She is really amazing." And a few days after my last match, he made me a small bouquet from flowers he picked in the park, showing his gentle nature. Our grandparents also found our parents' favoritism excessive, and often reprimanded them, but by the time I graduated high school, both had passed away one after the other. Sean always stood up for me, but especially our mother didn't find it amusing. She grew strict with him, threatening, "If you keep siding with your sister, I'll make you stand outside." Especially as winter began and snow started falling. I didn't want my much younger brother to suffer, so all I could say was, "You don't have to worry about me anymore." Eventually, Sean stopped defending me, and under our parents' protection, he enjoyed his days filled with sports and studies. After our grandparents' consecutive funerals, my parents simply refused to let me go to university, due to a lack of savings. I had wanted to study design, but that was not allowed, and I had to find a job immediately after high school. However, as a final act of defiance, I left our hometown for an office job at a design firm that handled websites for beauty salons and nail shops. Although it was a small company, I couldn't give up on my dream, and managed to get a position as a designer's assistant. While doing office work, I observed the professional designers daily. The harsh reality was difficult, but it only motivated me more to become a web designer myself. My alone time for study became precious. I minimized visits home because whenever I did, my parents would mock me. So I stayed away and spent weekends studying design and enhancing my software skills through online courses. This effort was recognized at work, and one day, I was integrated into the design team. My dedication was well known among the designers, who introduced me to useful materials and connections. By the third year, I had grown enough to be trusted with jobs as a web designer. 8 years after high school, as I became accustomed to my job as a web designer, news of Sean's college entrance exams arrived. He aimed for a famous private university in the city, aspiring to enter its medical school. Thanks to his diligent studies, his success was almost guaranteed. Recalling our childhood, I wanted to support him if possible and told him so. A few months later, Sean passed and got into the famous medical university. I congratulated him warmly. "Sean, I'm truly happy for you. I heard how hard you worked, attending tutorials daily." Sean thanked me modestly, but then I received a particular request. Actually, the private medical school requires a donation. It's optional, but Dad and Mom say we'd be looked down upon if we didn't contribute because we're from the countryside. It's better to pay, right? But you know our family's just scraping by with my tuition and living expenses for college. Sean said he would earn some of his living expenses through part-time jobs. But I knew the immense study load waiting for him in medical school would make that difficult. I wanted to contribute, but with our father being a regular employee and our mother working only twice a week, it was a stretch. The tuition for a private medical university was hard enough. They probably counted on using my savings, which they should have just stated outright. Despite deepening my disdain for our parents, I readily agreed to his request and helped with the donation and related expenses for his entrance. Thus, Sean moved to an apartment close to his university, and his new life began. The place where Sean lived wasn't far from my house, so he could rely on me anytime. Maybe he was enjoying his university life too much, as his replies to me were always curt. Yet he would contact me asking for things like, "I want to eat this," or "I need this, please send it." So I found myself sending parcels or lending money, doing financial favors our parents couldn't. We occasionally went out to eat as siblings, but even then, Sean was unresponsive, ignoring me and fiddling with his smartphone, except during meals. Whatever I asked, the only response was, "I'm busy with my studies." His indifferent reactions left me increasingly perplexed. At some point, he began to treat me coldly. Even today's dinner felt like I was forcing him to join me. To lighten the mood, I brought up our home in a deliberately cheerful tone. "Well, I guess Mom and Dad are just happy seeing you doing well." Suddenly, Sean looked at me sharply and distorted his face as if to scoff through his nose. "Of course. I'm at a famous medical university. And you are just a high school grad designer, right? They aren't worried about you at all. You have a job that doesn't even need qualifications." His harsh words made me feel the blood drain from my face. "What do you mean by no qualifications?" "Just what it sounds like, a web designer, right? Nowadays, anyone can do that with a little search on the internet. Some of my classmates can even create websites. Aren't you embarrassed by such a job? Maybe you should study a bit and get some qualifications. Though that might be tough with just a high school brain." "Sean, what's gotten into you?" "I study seriously for my job. Don't mock me without knowing anything." Sean glared at me irritably and grimaced. Dad and Mom say it every day on the phone. They say it's great how the eldest son got into medical school. But it's embarrassing that their older daughter only finished high school. I'm contacting you and going out to eat with you because they asked me to. Just so the embarrassing sister won't feel too inferior. The future renowned doctor has to take care of you, they say. My parents have always compared me to Sean. He was smart and kind. A reliable brother, but they would directly say to me, "Nicole, you're stupid and slow, and you're not thoughtful." Those memories flash back, making it difficult for me to breathe. Dizziness struck me from the shock, and I lowered my head to endure it. Yet, thinking I was crying, Sean just chuckled lightly and said, "I'm leaving now," then stood up and left. Having gained the freedom of college life, Sean had changed completely. Surrounded by geniuses that he never had back home probably affirmed the praise he received from our parents. Daily hearing from them that Sean is a real genius. And he will definitely become a great doctor, it's no wonder he believed it all. They included plenty of derogatory remarks about me in those praises, which influenced Sean too. Around Christmas, as usual, I went back home for a visit. I was told to bring Sean, who still maintained his attitude of ignoring me. This was his first visit back since he started studying and practicing intensely. Perhaps that's why, as soon as we arrived, my parents clung to him and ignored me. Home was ready with luxurious dishes waiting for Sean, and at night, a big party was held with neighbors, relatives, and Sean's former classmates who remained in the area. Caught up in the atmosphere, Sean began loudly bragging to everyone around. "Mom keeps saying to come back home. But I'm studying at that famous private university, what's more, in the medical faculty. It's understandable I can't come back often. Plus, studying at the medical faculty isn't something I can do alone. We need to work in teams, so if I'm the only one to return home, it puts everyone else in a tough spot. Everyone comes to me with their questions, so give me a break." I was in the kitchen, pretending to prepare dishes. But I could hear Sean's loud brags clearly. Though our parents and relatives, who had always lavishly praised Sean, might ignore it. The neighbors and former classmates probably didn't appreciate his boastful talk. Perhaps tired of his grandstanding. A man in my neighborhood brought up a conversation, maybe thinking to do me a favor. "By the way, Nicole is also working hard, isn't she? In design, I believe." But Sean and our parents unanimously and flatly denied it. "No way, Nicole is hopeless. She seems to be trying, but..." "That's right, our eldest is just a high school grad, which is quite embarrassing. There's a big gap between her and Sean." In a room filled with former classmates and neighbors with high school diplomas. It's surprising how Nicole can still come home. Laughing loudly, Sean continued as both our parents chuckled. I was just frozen, feeling a rush of anger rising the next moment. "Good for you, Nicole. From next year, you won't have to show your face here anymore." "Understood," I managed to say, my voice trembling. Despite the apologetic faces of the onlookers. "If you say so, I'll take you up on that. I'm never coming back here again." The anger inside me bubbled like magma, but the words that came out were utterly cold. "Don't ever show your face here again." On the way to the station, I nearly screamed, holding back the overwhelming emotions. My parents had, at least to some extent, worked and raised 2 children. If I valued my career, I couldn't maintain such relationships. Several months after my decision, just as the new academic year was about to begin. "Hey, what's happening with my tuition fees?" Sean's voice was tentative, tinged with panic. I responded calmly. "I supported last year's. The entrance fee, donation, and first year's tuition, remember? That's not it. I mean for the second year. This year's fees, they're urging me from the university to pay soon." "What's going on?" "What do you mean, what's going on?" I never said I'd pay. I could tell Sean was speechless on the other end. Actually, I was only supposed to pay for the donation, right? That can't be. But you know, my living expenses. My ability to save significantly stemmed from switching to a major design firm. having informed my family about my job change. Days later, I also refused further contact with my parents. Sean's calls became daily, filled with whining. If there had been a sincere apology. Among the messages, there were astonishing ones. People who look down on others shouldn't become doctors. With this, I cut off all contact with my family and welcomed a new season. I had been supporting not only my brother's tuition but also sending money home. Although my brother was talented, he had squandered any substantial money. One day, perhaps stressed, my father caused an incident. On the bus during his commute. My mother tried to work, but with only limited part-time experience. My parents attempted to contact me through relatives. But the content they wanted mediated was invariably demanding and authoritative in tone. The relatives recognized that the problem lay with my parents. And gradually they asked me not to worry about it. And ceased communicating on their behalf. This led to a thinning of ties with my family, allowing me to return to a peaceful life. According to the relatives, bad rumors were circulating about my brother, who had become a recluse, and my unemployed father, whose unsavory appearance further alienated them. Unable to bear the situation, my mother eventually disappeared from view and now, I'm told, is uncontactable. Left behind, they survive meagerly on welfare, without any income. Warm interactions with neighbors might have offered some solace. But given their behavior, it's unlikely they receive much sympathy from those around them. As for me, my career in design is progressing well. I have secured participation in significant projects that will prominently feature my name. Using this as a stepping stone, I've launched a long-held plan, that is, preparing for university entrance exams. As funds accumulate smoothly and my current work stabilizes, I plan to begin this new challenge. I'm also considering setting up my own business, wanting to learn not only about design but also about management. I'm excited about these new ventures.